what are your aspirations right now going into the fight with Joaquin?
I mean, with somebody like him, obviously I've never strayed away from anybody challenging me. And I always love giving those guys that are not ranked in the top 10 a shot at coming up, right? Just like the Jake Ellenbergers did for me, the Rory McDonalds, the Johnny Hendricks did for me. I wasn't even ranked in the top 10 when I got offered those guys, and they took it. And you have so many guys nowadays in the welterweight division who are trying to hold on to their spot and not let any of these other guys get a chance. So I was given a chance. It's my turn to go back and give these guys a chance to come up and try to get that title, make him earn it. And I'm just giving this guy a shot to move up. And I've been in the game since I was 15 years old, since the 90s, man. And I've heard every trash talk in the book, and I just smile at it. I mean, I'm glad that he's got the drive, he's got the fire in him to try to do so, but not gonna let it happen.
He remains one of the top welterweight fighters in the world, and he returns to action in Salt Lake City, Utah, UFC 307 against Joaquin Buckley. It is always my pleasure to speak to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Stephen, what's going on? How are you?
Doing great, man. Glad to be on with you, Damon, man. Training camp's going good. We're winding down, getting closer and closer to that time to scrap in the octagon, and feeling good.
Absolutely. So let me ask you on the timing on this, because obviously I know you're a guy who, you never shy away from a fight. You don't really back down and turn down fights. So what did you think when you got the call for UFC 307 and Joaquin Buckley?
I was kind of excited about it. Obviously, I'm always excited about somebody who's going to come in and really bring it to you. Kind of like the Kevin Holland fight, right? The Vicente Luque fight, the Jeff Neal fight. These guys, they're known to be strikers. They got good grappling skills, but predominantly they want to knock somebody out. And that's what makes it interesting for me. Not just for, competitively, but for the fans. I think it's going to be great.
You fought, we all know, you fought a lot of grapplers, you fought a lot of strikers, your career. And I know you've never, I remember years ago, you were one of the guys calling for the Kamaru Usman fight. You were like, give me that guy. With that being said, though, is it a little more exciting when you do get a guy who is kind of known for the viral knockouts, kind of known for those exciting fights? Again, I know you never shy away from the grapplers, but you, just like the Luque fight, just like other, like the Holland fight, getting a little excited for the guys they're going to come in there and kind of trade and bang with you a little bit.
Oh, 100%, man. And Joaquin Buckley, he's a great dancing partner. He's going to go out there. He's going to try to put me to sleep. I'm not saying he's not going to try to take me down, but I know he wants to go out there and let them hands fly. He's big, tough, kind of like a Mike Tyson style of a fighter. Very strong, very explosive. But yeah, man, this is what the fans want to see. Whatever the fans want to see, I'm in for. I want to be known as one of the most exciting fighters out there. Not just one of the best strikers, but I want to be exciting at the same time. I don't like it when guys try to lay on you and next thing you know, you hear the crowd boo. I want to be the guy that the people are excited to hear that has got a fight coming up because they know it's going to be an exciting fight. So yeah, man, I'm watering at the mouth to step out there October 5th against Joaquin Buckley, and I'm excited. It's funny because during the National Fight Week, man, he was begging for it. He was like, hey, man, come on, Wonderboy, let's make this thing happen. Let's make this thing happen. It was funny because Kevin Holland was there too. And Kevin Holland was calling Joaquin Buckley his son, like, nah, son. And then he comes up to me and says, oh, granddad. I'm like, wait, what? Granddad? He's like, yeah, you beat me and I beat him. I said, you can't be fighting grandson. I'm like, oh my gosh, man. They had me cracking up. But Joaquin Buckley was literally begging for it. And I was like, hey, my people will get in touch with you people. We'll see if we'll make this thing happen. So I'm excited that we were able to sign off on that contract.
Now, my opinion, Stephen, you're one of the most creative and dynamic strikers we've ever seen in this game. I remember going back even before you were in the UFC, you were pulling off some of the craziest knockouts in your kickboxing career and other things you did. I'm curious, Joaquin is so well known for that viral knockout over Impa Kasanganay. Now, again, that's a different weight class a couple of years ago. How would you grade that creativity in that move? Because that is not something you would ever typically see. That's not something you teach in the gym.
No, at all. Nothing at all. And that's what made that kick so crazy is that's so out of character for Joaquin Buckley to throw. We have never seen him throw anything like that before, which is why it landed so well, right? That's what I keep telling people, man. Think outside the box in your training. And do something every now and then kind of crazy out there in and during the fight, like nobody will know it's coming. And that's what made that kick happen so well, because even his opponent was like, nah, bro, it wasn't even a thought in his head that he was capable of something like that. Now, we do know Joaquin is a very athletic guy. We've never seen that kick. That was like a 10. Like, I've never seen anything that pretty land. And it was like, he wasn't even trying to do it. It was just effortless. It was so effortless and beautiful. And the way the guy fell down backwards, it was just, I was like, bro, I hope this dude doesn't come to 170. No, he's not notorious for throwing anything like that, but you have to be. That's just another aspect of the game when you're stepping out there with Joaquin Buckley. He can pull something out of the hat like that at any time.
Yeah, and listen, you got to go be with your grandson. Occasionally that happens. That's how families are sometimes. But I've seen your YouTube channel, Steven. I know you do practice some crazy stuff. Now, again, you're not opposed to pulling off crazy moves in the octagon. Would it mean a little bit more to pull off something? Now, again, not saying you're planning for it, but would it mean a little bit more to pull off something crazy against a guy like Buckley, who does have that viral knockout?
Of course, man. To try to top that would be so sick. To try to top that viral knockout would be incredible. So, I might have to pull something out of the hat, man. Maybe something earlier on in the fight where he's least expecting it. Or if it goes to the third round and where, you start to see a little fatigue, that's when things start to happen, is when guys start getting a little tired. And you saw that during the Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman fight, right? Like, fifth round, they're both fairly fatigued and the reaction times aren't there. That's when things start landing.
Yeah. Can I ask, because you've done this so many times, Steven, when guys who are known for being strikers, and they say things like, I'm going to knock out Wonderboy, I'm going to be the guy to do that, I'm going to do this, do that. And then you get in there and either you end up, slicing and dicing them a little bit like the Holland fighting. And Kevin's a very good fighter. That's not a knock on him. I'm just saying we saw the levels of the striking in that fight. Or they're immediately turning into a grappler. So is it do you still find humor when guys say I'm going to knock out Wonderboy, I'm going to outstrike Wonderboy? I don't think that's ever, I think the only time I remember when catching like that was the kind of crazy knockout with Pettis. But even that, that was a fight you were winning clearly on the feet and he caught you. That's just how the fight works. No one and I like Anthony Pettis. I don't think anyone would say he outstruck you. He caught you, but he didn't outstrike you.
Yeah, man. It is funny when guys are like, oh, I'm going to go out there. Even Shavkat was like, oh, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to beat him striking. He can't strike with me. And then he ended up turning into a grappler out there. And of course, his excuse was I had a hurt ankle. But that dude was running on the treadmill the day before just fine. You know what I'm saying? So it is funny that when guys are out there, all over social media, they want to get you thinking one thing. Obviously, it's kind of smart. They want to get you thinking one thing and then they go do the other. But yeah, I ended up getting caught by Anthony, man. I felt like I was winning that fight. And I don't remember any of the second round, even though I got knocked out 5 seconds before that round was over. I don't remember any of it. Not one thing. All I remember is standing up after that first round and off of the stool and be like, all right, I'm going to pick it up this round. That's it. That's all I remember. Thank God I don't remember the knockout. But to be honest with you, it wasn't that bad. I would rather get knocked out like that than like Khabib or something for 5-minute rounds is on top of you talking trash and punch you in the face consistently. Not hard enough to put you to sleep, but hard enough to where it really hurts and you're looking for a way out. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I do hope that this guy, I think he's going to shoot. I think he's going to wrestle. You saw what he did with the last guy. I can't even pronounce his name, but the tall Russian that made 170. Of course, he was 6'5". The butt cheeks are right there, right at his level. So it was easy for him to take him down. I'm a very difficult guy to take down. I really am. And I pride myself on that. I really make my opponents really have to work to get me down. And when they do, they tire themselves out. But Joaquin is explosive. He can change the level and get in on you really quick. So I'm expecting the wrestling. I do got to watch out for his striking. But at some point in time, either late first round or early second, I think he's going to try to get me to the cage and get me to the floor. So I got to be prepared for that.
Can I ask about the Shavkat thing? Because listen, this is MMA. MMA. You fought everybody. You fought, champions. You fought for the title. All these kind of things. And listen, we understand mental warfare. I'm going to strike with Wonderboy, and then of course, first thing they're doing is ankle picking because they don't want to strike with Wonderboy. But I think Shavkat is a monster. He's a very good fighter. But when he says after the fight, oh, I was going to strike with him, but I had the does that bug you a little bit when that's afterwards when that happens?
I'm going to be honest with you. Yes. And just the fact because, like, come on, man, like you're not fooling anybody. Like we all know that that was your game plan the whole time. And it was funny because afterwards, the same coach as Gilbert Burns, right? And after the Gilbert Burns fight, coach came up, was like, so I'm sorry, Steven, we had to make, I'm sorry the fight was boring, but that's the only way to beat you. And he said the same thing after the Shavkat. So I knew that's what they were planning on. He was not planning on to strike with me. He wanted to hit me up. He wanted to get me to the floor and submit me, which he did that very well. That's part of the game. I got to be ready for that. But it is, man, especially after the fight, they're saying that. Like, come on, you can say that during the fight. You're trying to get me thinking one thing. But after the fight, you're saying I was going to strike with the guy, but I hurt my ankle. Like, nah, dude. It got me a little bit. I mean, very few things frustrate me. That got me a little bit.
Yeah, and we understand like the pre-fight stuff. That's just kind of part of the game. They're trying to get you to commit and try not to think about the takedown because they know you're a dynamic striker. But afterwards, just like, dude, that was totally my game plan. I was totally going in there to take him down. I had 100%. I had no
just admit it
with Wonderboy.
Just admit it, man. Come on.
Yeah. Now, to that, can I ask, because obviously you are a guy who fought Shavkat and you are a guy who fought Belal a couple of years ago. First off, let me ask, because I know the Leon Edwards fight was one you've wanted forever, and I actually think everything goes well on October 5th. I think you and Leon Edwards is an incredible fight to make, and I really hope that happens. Were you impressed? Were you shocked? Were you surprised by the way Belal beat Leon the way he did? Because outside of that one round where he got reversed and got his back taken, it was pretty much Belal from start to finish.
Yeah, it was one of those things that, I mean, he went out there in his hometown and did work. Now, you go back and you watch all the Belal Muhammad fights, even my fight with him. The guy has got his gas tank. I don't even know what his gas tank is running off of at this point, because it's not gas, because you end up running out of that. The dude does not get tired. He was just as fresh in the first round as he was in the fifth, outstriking Leon Edwards because Leon was fatigued. He had to keep getting back up. He feared the takedown. He had some good scrambles. He reversed a few things there, but Belal was just relentless and with his game plan, and he was just unbreakable that night. This was something that was leading up for Belal for a long period of time, and he took full advantage of that opportunity to go out there and beat him in his hometown, because they had some bad blood before with the eye pokes and things like that, little trash talk on social media. But I don't know, man. I mean, not to take anything away from Belal, but it felt like it wasn't the same Leon I saw fight Usman. It wasn't the same Leon I saw fought Colby. It's just something that was there. I don't know if it was because he was defending the title for the however many time, like fourth time. But it wasn't the same fire. And that's one of the things that I think Belal Muhammad took advantage of. He just seemed off that night. And I know he said it was something that had to do with the late night, it being so late for the fight. But man, you're in your hometown. Like, come on, man. Like, you got to be prepared for that. So my hat's off to Belal, dude. I think he's very good. I think the Shavkat fight would be an amazing fight for him. But of course, I know they're kind of going back and forth on social media. You don't deserve it. You haven't fought. I think his last fight was me, Shavkat. But still, I think Belal did the same thing. He waited a little bit. But I think that would be sick. Or Shavkat versus Ian Gary, and the winner of that fight Belal.
Yeah, I like that too. And I don't have a problem if Shavkat gets it. And to be clear, like, I talked to Belal after his fight, and he's like, I'll fight Shavkat. He's like, I'm not going to back down from anyone. Of course, we know how social media works. They're going back and forth now, giving each other crap. Can I ask, because Shavkat has been, listen, no one's going to doubt that Shavkat has been a very dominant fighter and has finished all of his opponents, all those kind of things we're talking about. So immediately people are like, well, he's just going to tear through Belal. Like, that's not, he's just going to just destroy Belal. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Shavkat's a very good fighter. He absolutely is. But I think we got to get past the point where it's just like everyone's going to roll. Everyone thinks everyone's going to roll through Belal. It's just like Leon's going to beat Belal and Gilbert's going to beat Belal and Sean Brady's going to beat Belal. Everyone just like keeps picking against Belal. I'm not saying I'd pick him to beat Shavkat right now without, really breaking down the fight. But like in my head, I'm like, stop doubting this guy. Like, why are we just not giving this guy credits?
I know, man. I mean, I thought the same way whenever he fought Damian Maia. I'm like, Damian Maia's going to crush this guy. Damian Maia could not get this guy down. Some of the best takedown defense I've seen. And Damian Maia, if he wants you on the ground, you're going down. And Belal did an amazing job with that fight and with everybody since then. Like, I know he's the shorter fighter, and Shavkat's a great striker. He's got good grappling, but so does Belal, man. I mean, if when push comes to shove, if they can't get each other down, it's going to be a stand-up match, I think. Kind of like the Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. I think that they're going to cancel each other out with the grappling. They're not going to be able to get each other down. So it's going to have to be with who's got the better striking. Bilal's got a gas tank, man. Shavkat kind of likes to pace himself a little bit throughout the fight. He's not in your face the entire time throwing strikes like Belal is. So I think it's going to be a good test for both. I think it is going to turn into a striking match.
Do you, I assume, based on what you're saying, you do give Belal a chance to win? Because it seems like everyone's just like, oh, well, Shavkat's future champion.
No. Yeah, dude. I mean, Belal is, he's got every chance to go out there and do well against Shavkat, just like Shavkat has a chance to beat him. He's the champ. How can you sit there and say that he's going to run through him when all we've seen from Belal is just domination with everybody? I don't remember the last close fight that he's had. I don't. He did it to Sean Brady. He outstruck him, outgrappled him. He did it with everybody. Myself, Leon. I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head. Gilbert. He did it with Gilbert Burns. Like, what is this guy going to do? He's fought every style. He's fought strikers. He's fought grapplers. He's fought very well-rounded MMA fighters. Like, come on, man. You cannot sit there and tell me he's going to run through Belal. Like, come on. I think if Shavkat wins, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I don't think he walks through him one bit.
Yeah, and I also I think like the finishes are great, but that also means he's never gone 3 rounds. And he's going to go 5 rounds with Belal, like a 5 round. You've been in plenty of main events, Steven. I know. Get through a 5-round fight. As much as we all say, oh, he's 100% finishing rate. Yes, that's impressive, but that also means he's never seen that. And you talk about Bilal's endless gas tank. He's got like a Tesla combined with like a gas tank. It's like a weird, like he's got like the ultimate gas tank. Again, I'm just saying, like, these are things I don't think people are thinking about.
Yeah. Obviously Shavkat's a professional. We have not seen him go 5 rounds. The last time I've seen him go 3 was when he fought Jeff Neal, and that was a very close fight until he finished him. But you started to see a little fatigue there. You started to see the mortality of Shavkat, when before that it was like, this guy can't be beat. It was like Khamzat whenever he fought Gilbert. Everybody thought Khamzat Chimaev was just, like the best thing out there until Gilbert Burns stepped out and pushed him, almost knocked him out, made him bleed. And it's like, okay. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right. And the same thing with when Jeff Neal fought Shavkat. Like, that was the time that you saw the mortality of Shavkat. Like, Jeff Neal pushed him. He landed some good shots. He stung him a little bit. Very difficult to take down until they really fatigued out in that 3rd round and ended up getting that bulldog choke. And and Jeff Neal, that wasn't as fast paced as Belal. Belal's going to make it an even harder pace, an even more intense pace than Jeff Neal did to Shavkat. He's going to be in your face, looking for the takedown, up and down, and just making you work for 5-minute rounds. And if it makes it past the 3rd, you'll start to see that fatigue, I think. If just from what I've seen with Shavkat, I think he's going to get a little tired, get a little fatigued.
I think Jeff Neal's the reason that Shavkat didn't strike with you. I think he struck with Jeff Neal a little bit. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to strike with Wonderboy. We're not going to play that game. I'm not playing that game again.
Man, does he have a fight coming up? I'm not sure. Not Shavkat, but Jeff Neal. Do you know?
You know what? I feel like he does. And
I feel like I saw something.
Yeah, I feel like he does have a fight. Now I don't remember who it is. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's funny. It's true.
But he's tough, man. And Jeff Neal's a tough guy to beat, man. And he's very powerful. He's a little shorter as the 170, but he's bulky, so he's going to have great takedown defense. And he just really took it to Shavkat. I went back and I looked at that fight constantly. Those 2 fights right there, because like I said, that was the fight that somebody really pushed Shavkat.
Yeah. Now let me ask you, Steven, because you've been right near the top of the rankings pretty much since like your 3rd fight in the UFC, and you've never gone too far away. Like, you've always been somewhere up or down in that top 10. I don't like playing the like, here's what your opponent said about you game. But I did talk to Joaquin a few weeks ago, and he said one thing, and I know he posted this on social media too. And I bring it up only because like, I didn't find it as disrespectful as some other comments when people are like, I'm going to knock out Wonderboy. We know that's not the game plan. And he said something to the effect of, get ready for that Karate Combat contract. And I was like, are you trying to say that like you're going to retire Wonderboy? He's like, no. He's like, what I mean is I want to beat him to the point where he knows he's no longer a contender. He's no longer he can no longer look at the division and say, I could be a champion. Now that's a different level of trash talk. That's actually like a little bit more, I think that's a little bit more savvy than just being like, I'm gonna knock him out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've heard some version of these kind of comments before, but let me ask you in all honesty, Steve, like you've always been in that top 10. What are your goals right now in terms of like you mentioned you want to be one of the most exciting guys in the sport. You've always been right near like a fight away, a win away, 2 wins away from a title shot. What are your aspirations right now going into the fight with Joaquin?
I mean, with somebody like him, obviously I've never strayed away from anybody challenging me. And I always love giving those guys that are not ranked in the top 10 a shot at coming up, right? Just like the Jake Ellenbergers did for me, the Rory McDonalds, the Johnny Hendricks did for me. I wasn't even ranked in the top 10 when I got offered those guys, and they took it. And you have so many guys nowadays in the welterweight division who are trying to hold on to their spot and not let any of these other guys get a chance. So I was given a chance. It's my turn to go back and give these guys a chance to come up and try to get that title, make them earn it. Obviously, they're going to be given nothing, and if they don't win, they don't deserve to be there. But I'm going to give them the 110% that I've got. People are looking down on me because I'm 41. I feel just as good at 41 as I did when I was 25. Like I don't have the crazy injuries. I am smart with my training. I'm just as fast, just as crafty. I'm improving in every aspect of the game. So the title is always there. But I think at this age, and the more that I've trained and seen champions and their mindsets, the goal is to always better myself in training. And my test to that is to fight in the UFC, is to fight these studs, the best of the best in the world. And that's where I get my my glory from is I train. I'm a long life martial artist. I'm constantly trying to get better here. And my test is to fight the best in the world. And I'm just giving this guy a shot to move up. And I've been in the game since I was 15 years old, since the 90s, man. And I've heard every trash talk in the book, and I just smile at it. I mean, I'm glad that he's got the drive, he's got the fire in him to try to do so, but not gonna let it happen.
You're 41 going on 31, Steven. If you told anyone right now you were 31, they'd be like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like they would never doubt that in their head whatsoever. It's wild. Like when you said that, I was like, you're not 41. Come on now.
You can see it a little bit in the hair. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little gray there. But no, those are my stripes, man. Those are my trophies. The gray hair. It shows the experience. You know what I'm saying? So it's fun because I like being 41 and being in the UFC. It's cool to have guys that are on the same card as you asking for your autograph. You know what I mean? Like there was a point where I was in the UFC, nobody was wanting my autograph, not even fighters, not even fans. But now it's to the point where fighters, guys that are in the UFC making a name for themselves are asking for my autograph. Are you kidding me? I think it's the coolest thing in the world. So they look at me as a veteran, but not just that, but as one of the best.
I always remember one of my favorite moments with you going back years ago was when you were on maybe 4 or 5 fights in your UFC career. And you were out here in Columbus at the Arnold's and you were at a booth doing a signing. And I was coming by to do an interview. We had talked beforehand. I was like, I'm going to come by and do an interview. And you had such a freaking line of people waiting to meet you. And I remember you waving at me out there. And I was like, dude, don't even worry about it. I was like, you got so many people right now. It was insane. Like, I was like, I didn't know what to expect. And there was such a freaking line of people waiting to meet you and take photos and get autographs. And I always remember that because you were like, dude, I'm so sorry. I was like, I totally understand. I was like, I didn't know what it was going to be like. And there was a freaking line around the corner to meet Wonderboy. I always thought that was one of the coolest things.
It is so cool, man. I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed to be a part of the game. I'm blessed that this is my lifestyle, to be able to sit here and talk with you, Damon. And for years, we've done this for how long now? Since the beginning. Before the
UFC. Back when you were, I think it was right after, I think it was was an ACL surgery. And you were 5-0, and you were going to work for the UFC. You were training with George at that point.
Yeah, George. Yeah, man, I was training. Dude, that's so long ago, man. Early 2000s, bro. Dang, Damon, time flies. What the flip, dude?
I know, right? Like it's so wild. It's so wild to think about that back in the day.
I'm glad to see that you're still in the game, though. I'm glad to see you're still after it, baby. I love it.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. And I love that about you as well, because like I said, like I always say when anyone talks about being at the top of the sport past 40, we always talk about Randy Couture, and rightfully so. Randy was a champion at like 45, and saying that he was still at that level. I feel like you're a guy that could, I'm not going to put numbers in your head, but you're a guy that could potentially surpass that, because I'm not kidding when you say 41, I'm like, dude, you're 31. Come on now. Like, just let's be honest about it. You're 40, you're 31, because you said you don't deal with a lot of serious injuries. You stay healthy. I know your work in the gym and being a martial artist is your lifestyle. It's not like you go out and party and gain 30 pounds after a fight. Like, this is just who you are. So I think you are a great candidate of a guy who can kind of set the standard of like, yeah, you can be great past 40 if you take care of yourself and you do the right things.
Yes, sir. 100%, man. 100%. It's funny, but you still have guys out there in the UFC who only train whenever they have fights coming up. I'm like, no, bro. How are you going to keep improving if that's the case? You got to be training outside of camps. You got to be training every day, learning something new, thinking outside the box when you spar. Like, come on, if you want to be the best, that's the mindset you got to have. And that's something that I learned not just through my father, who's been training since the 70s, early 70s, but training with world champions, man. The Weidmans, the Andersons, the Lyoto Machidas, the GSPs, the Nate Marquardts, the Rashad Evans, man. That's what it's about. And so that's what I learned from training with those guys, is the mindset, is to always try to improve yourself. So if you are in the UFC, make sure that's a habit. Make sure that you're training every day if you can.
I imagine it's a family thing, right? Because we talk about the best teams and coaches in MMA, and I know your dad. I've met your dad many times. He's like the quiet guy. He doesn't like look to be on camera. He doesn't look to be doing interviews. But I know what an influence he's had, because I know when I've talked to Chris Weidman, like being down there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm working with Ray and Steven and those guys." Like just kind of quietly slides in there. But your dad, I know, has been a massive influence, not only as your coach, but like I imagine that's probably part of the reason why you are who you are at this stage of your game, because your dad was a martial artist, because he's been your coach this entire time. And now even at 41, like you're still the same dude.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a community here at Upstate Karate. My dad is my main coach. He's my father. He's the one that made me the man that I am today, but not just him. We have other guys that have, throughout the years of me growing up here at Upstate Karate, has pretty much kind of helped raise me as well. We got guys here that have been training since my dad, since day one. I mean, and they're in their 60s and they're still training here. And I still look at them, even though I'm higher ranked than them, I still look at them as them being higher than me. Just the wisdom and the experience. And so it's a community here at Upstate Karate, man. And we're all one big family. And I wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for my dad. I'm finding myself doing things that I never thought I would do, but I'm doing them because I've seen my dad do them over and over and over. I was in the parking lot the other day at a grocery store, and there was just trash there. And nobody's sitting there picking it up. And I know for a fact, if my dad was here, he'd be the one picking that trash up. Even though it wasn't his, he'd be throwing it away. He's the one that puts all the buggies that everybody leaves in the parking lot. He'll pile them up and put them back where they're supposed to go. And I find myself doing that. And I smile, and I'm glad, because we need more men like that in the world. And here at Upstate Karate, where that's the plan. That's what we do. We turn boys into men and girls into women, and not just good people, but good martial artists as well.
I'll never forget, just to go back again, just a couple of years ago, we had an interview scheduled, and we were getting ready to hop on. You called me right before, you texted me right before, and you said, "Hey man, can we push it to tomorrow, because some kids needed to get picked up. It's snowing down here, and I had to drive a bus to go get the kids for the class." And I was like, "Of course we can reschedule." It's like that's like such a Wonderboy thing, that you're going out and picking up kids on a snowy day.
Always, man, always, dude. When they're needed, I'm there, bro. It's funny because I train kids every day, not just kids, but teens and adults and things, but kids are my jam. There's just a lot of fun. They keep you young, but a lot of these parents rely on us to kind of help them out. And like I said, we're a community, help raise them up, help bring them to school, help train them up. And I remember that day, dude, it was snowing and I had to leave early to go pick up the kids. I'm like, bro, we have to push it back. I got to get in the bus and I got to try to pick these youngins up, bro. It's so, oh my gosh. I remember, like, I think I was doing an interview one time and there was a freaking tornado. And I was doing an interview and I had to run out of the bus into a school, but I was still doing the interview while there was a tornado. So I'm sitting there hunkered down with a bunch of elementary school kids and teachers. I don't know, man. I had some crazy interviews and stuff while getting ready to pick up kids.
Doing the Twister sequel with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Well, Stephen, man, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. You know, I appreciate it. Obviously, have a safe rest of your training camp, safe travels out to Salt Lake City. It is always great to see you back in action. Cannot wait for October 5th. I think you guys have a chance to really steal the show. I think this is a tremendous fight, and it's always fun to watch you compete. And I appreciate you always taking time for me. All these years later, always taking time for me.
Anytime, my man. Anytime. I really do appreciate you, Damon. And you're the man, brother. We'll talk soon.